some of my mugs or pitchers or whatever that are altered. You see this is altered on the wheel, and the top is obviously not flat. It would be near impossible to really turn this, and definitely not easy to turn. I added this on while the clay was still in a fairly soft stage, a little bit softer than leather, I would say, and then pressed it down onto a piece of glass with a piece of newspaper on top so it doesn't stick. These have been bisque fired, so obviously I can't just add a piece of clay to the bottom that it wouldn't stick. The first thing I do in a case like this is glaze the top of the piece. It's already been glazed, and I held it at the bottom. Now I have to glaze the bottom and put on the foot. So my clear glaze. And then hit the top with a heat gun. It breaks up all the bubbles. I like to use really soft clay when I'm doing this for a couple of reasons. One is that it's going to be more likely to stick to the piece. It's just easier to work with. It's not going to get small stress cracks when you're rolling it out. It also helps to mist your hands with water a little bit sometimes, depending on how dry the clay is. You have to get the clear glaze moist again so that the clay will stick better, and you can do that either by misting with a water bottle. I usually just use a small brush and add a little bit of extra glaze. Rather than trying to make one complete circle all the way around, you can see how I sort of bend it off to one side. The reason I do that is if it's a complete circle, it's more likely to get stress cracks because the different thicknesses and shapes of the base and the actual ring are going to expand and contract differently when you fire this in the kiln. The whole purpose to pressing this down on the newspaper on a flat surface, either glass or whatever, rather than just doing this right in the kiln, is that your kiln shelves are more likely to be contaminated with a little bit of dust or whatever, and then of course the kiln wash will come off onto the piece, and then you have to scrape it off later, and that's not always easy to do. Now I just place them right into the kiln. Because I'm using paper clay, I can fire this piece immediately because it is so small. The top's already fired, but the little ring is, because of the shape of it, for one thing, it's not real thick, and it's just a small round piece. I can fire that immediately without any worry of that cracking. If this clay didn't have fiber in it, I would probably have to wait maybe a day or two. If I'm doing a pitcher, I do it a little bit differently. You can see I put feet on the bottom of this, little round feet, and you can see how the glaze, because of kind of capillary action when you're firing it in a kiln, actually goes down around the little foot. So there's glaze underneath this little pad, making it totally sealed, and then the only exposed is actually the very little piece, the only exposed piece of clay, the very little edge of the foot. Having 3 small pads instead of 4, it's going to be a lot easier to self-balance, and it's going to be less likely that it's going to have a little bit of a wobble. This is the piece that I showed you in the beginning, and it's already fired, and it was fired with the ring already on it. So what I'm going to do with this is start off by glazing it in the normal fashion, doing the inside first, and then just sponging off the bottom to make sure it's clean, and dipping it down in, and you can see how the glaze just flows right into the spiral foot that I put on. That's another reason I like to use that spiral foot. And then just roll the cup around in a circle to get any excess glaze out of the spiral.